has been a while since I've been on the Facebook group chatting a few times, but it's been a while since I've done an actual demo. Martin and Homer have been doing the demos every twice a week. So if you want a fuller overview of Stash, Tuesdays and Thursdays is when we do a full sort of deep dive into some of the general overview. So if you never have seen Stash before, it's a good starting point as well to jump onto one of those on a Tuesday, say. This one here, we kind of wanted to go through. Hey, Ben, welcome. We do want to go through, I think 12 months ago, we launched Stash to you guys. And I don't know, we've probably interviewed or done demos with 1,000 people over the last 12 months. And that product that we saw, 12 months ago is completely different to what it is now. And I think the last sort of 3 months, we've been sort of working towards this piece of turning Stash from a property research platform into this end-to-end, workflow where you can pretty much operate, from end to end of their whole buying process. So it was a really massive release. We did it a couple of weeks ago. And since then, we've added a whole lot more. We've gotten a lot of feedback, and there's lots of little tweaks we're making from here. So keep that feedback coming. But it was a really big unlock for what's capable of this product. So I thought it would be good to just get you all back and just go through, really deep dive into this section of the product. So basically, it's all around the couple of new things. I'll give you a quick run through what we're going to go through. We're going to go through like the buyer brief, which previously when we first launched, there was a PDF, and now I'm basically saying stop sending PDFs because there's a better way. And it was always our plan to do this, and it was just a little bit more technical than I would have liked. But what we've ended up with is a really solid digital brief that you can share with your buyers through no matter what stage of the process you're in, whether you're just onboarded them or you're actually searching for property. So end to end they can stay. It looks really professional, and it's really consistent approach to their interactions with you. The other thing we have launched is a digital property report. So instead of sharing a couple of muted sounds, sorry. Instead of sharing, again, a property report PDF, we've created a digital version of that, really branded. We kind of wanted to make sure that was something that only you shared. Like if you're sharing, I know previously I was, with WhatsApp groups, I'm getting links to property.com.au or real estate or domain or whatever it was, depending if it's on market or off market. It was a different experience every time for the buyer. So what we've created is a really concise, fully branded report that's every time it's the same. So no matter what property, whether it's on market, off market, they're going to get a really consistent approach. And that sort of ties back into the brief as well. The other thing I'm going to go through is Claude AI. If you've never heard of these things, that's okay. It's just more of a look into the future of where we're sort of taking this thing. And there's some other stuff around our buyer's agent directory with Find a BA, and we'll touch on that as well. But let's kick off. If anyone's got any questions, chuck them in chat. Marto and Homer will answer. Ben, if you've got any questions, jump on in. But we will kick off. So I'm going to start with the buyer brief. No, actually, I'm going to start with my brand because I need to update my brand. If you haven't updated your brand, it's really important to do that, just because everything you are sharing, it's going to be either Stash or it's going to be you, and I prefer it to be you than Stash. So I just took it off, but I'll just put my brand up. I created a fake buyer's agency. It's called Delicious. So you might have seen that on some of the livery around. It's not real. It's just to demonstrate how this product works and how you can use some of these things. So let me just grab my brand if I can do that real quick. Sorry. I should have it somewhere. Hopefully, here we go. So literally just grab your logo from your website. Minimize that for a sec. Make it look good. Select your background colors. That'll do. Save it. And then it change the whole experience from up on the left-hand corner to everything you share, your buyer brief, your digital reports, everything's going to be branded your own brand. My colors are the same, so I'm going to leave it as that. But in terms of the buyer brief, so if you've never seen this before, it's pretty much where you could manage all your buyers. So you can still have your CRM. We connect with Zoho, we're working with BAI Icon. So if you've still got a CRM, that's perfectly fine. This is just sort of where you're managing the matching of properties and sharing those things to the actual buyer. But some of those systems do similar things as well, but this is kind of where you can connect those actual properties, live property data straight into these briefs. So if you wanted to add a new brief, top right-hand corner, you can click on add a new brief, and it's just adding your client details, pretty much first and foremost. Add your client, and then from there, you can create that brief. I've created a whole bunch. I'll just bring up one as an example. I created one just before. I created Anthony. So we're going to use him. So this is an active client of mine. Let's say it is. And this is sort of how you would onboard. If you've seen this before, I'll just quickly skim through it. You've added your client details. My buyer is looking for a principal residence, investment property. Not too sure. We'll see what happens tonight. He's looking for a new job, maybe. Preferred investment strategy. We'll say buy and hold on that one. Adding the budget, I've just put in 750 to $1 million. So I'll just quickly skim through these. He will say he's looking immediately for a property. He's currently renting. He doesn't need to sell. He's purchased before. Quick skim, adding all your preferences. So we'll say he's looking for a house, 3 beds, baths. I'll leave all that out. It's fine. Specific features he's looking for, we'll just say quiet street, close to beach, whatever you want to type in, you chuck it in there, because when we actually start matching against on-market properties, we're going to be using all that free text data to try and, I guess, give you the best results to the ones that really match that brief. Instead of just going, here's all the 3-bed houses, we're going to go ones that are, quiet street, close to beach, and sort of elevate those to the top. That price probably not getting one. We'll say preferred state. We'll just look at Queensland. So we'll look on PPR on this one. If it was an investment, you can use these sort of metro. I'm looking coastal, again, refined by distance to city, and it'll basically bring up, you don't need to put the suburbs in. It'll bring up a whole list of suburbs that you can then refine from there. Lifestyle we'll leave. Investment we will leave. But so this was an investment. You could say, well, this buy would say be looking for 4 or 5% growth, and it'll bring up all those 4 or 5% growth suburbs, and then you can match from there. So I'll just quickly skim. I'll save that. If they had a current portfolio, you can add that. Anthony, we have added one. Don't think he owns it. We'll bring that in. If there's any more, add them in there. Not everyone has one, obviously. The suburbs, I have selected some suburbs. So when I was going through my brief, I did forget to tell you about that. So I've added in some suburbs. I've added in Brighton, Sandgate, Redcliffe. So we say he's moving to Queensland, so I've added some of those suburbs in. We'll bring those suburbs up. So here's the suburb shortlist that we've said. But we'll also bring up some suggested suburbs. So these are suburbs that are similar to those suburbs. They might be nearby. So if you've got a buyer who's interested in a particular suburb, but you can suggest, you can actually get into these suburbs cheaper, so we can bring those suburbs in. So we'll do all that matching for you as well. The next bit is agent insights. So this is a really key one. It was around biggest pain points for buyers agents was, how do I connect to selling agents? How do I start to build those relationships, and who do I actually need to build them with? So what we've done is, so based on this brief in those suburbs for this price point, we've automatically found 14 selling agents that currently service that area. We've got how many listings they've currently got on the market, how many properties have sold in the last 12 months, what their average days on market, do they like auctions, do they not? And you can basically add all them. I'll just add a couple. And then you can email them straight from this system. So we'll write the email for you. You can plug in if you've got Google Mail, Gmail, or Outlook, you'll be able to plug in your email into here, and it'll send from your email address. It won't send from us. It'll have nothing to do with us. It'll show up in your outbox on your own email. We'll automatically write this email. So in this case, it's automatically done. And I send that. I'm going to send that to 4 agents, and I look at my outbox. It'll have those 4 emails. So any replies is going to go back to you. So it's just again, these are pain points that people have brought up, since we were dealing with PDFs. Is like, throughout this whole process, what do you actually need to do to try and find this person a property? I need to find the suburbs. Now I need to connect with agents in those suburbs. And now I'm going to start to look for off-market and on-market properties. So off-market, this is constantly evolving our off-market capability. You've obviously got connections with agents. Now you're going to get a lot of off-markets from that exclusively, which is great. What we've also got here is we're trawling, basically trying to find any pre-market opportunities. So if there is any listings out there that aren't quite listings on portals yet, we do trap a fair chunk of them. So we just start to come up. So this will start to grow a little bit more. We're sort of evolving to this. We had a lot of off markets where we had property sources over the last 12 months, finding properties. We're going to revisit that whole section of that product, the off market deals, and trying to make them a bit more easier for BAs to actually find stock, or stock that you can't move because you don't have a buy for, but you do get off market connections from agents, to get them into here to help push them onto other agents and potentially collect the ticket. So yeah, we're working a lot in that space. We've also got the withdrawn properties. So if there is anything, again, matching this brief that did come to market, say last year, that didn't actually sell, maybe it's me connecting back with those agents to see if they want to come to market now based on where the market is or what this buyer is actually looking for. So it's a really good source of off-market listings, ones that didn't actually sell prior. market may have changed, price has gone up, price has gone down, they might be ready to go. On market, and just as you're going through, so if I was looking at these ones, if I wanted to connect to the agent, I can click on that. That'll open up in this case, it'll probably open up a portal. Let me have a look at this one. So this is our buyers getting ready for market. Somebody does want to be coming together. I can connect with the agent through there and away I go. If I did connect with them and it is a good deal, I can basically add this to my property shortlist. So I'll just click on the stars. It'll basically throw it into my property shortlist. So I'll go to on market now. So based on whatever I was looking for, in this case, I was looking for a quiet street, close to beach, a renovator. I didn't want a pool. So then we'll start to match on-market listings, however long they've been on the market, and see if they're ready or more than likely good properties for my buyer to look at. So I can go through and say, yeah, we can have a look at the details. So if you've seen Stash in the last couple of months, a month ago, say, this looked completely different. We didn't have as much detail into here. We've got the listing text coming in, so you can sort of see what it is. If you want to go and explore that listing further on any of the portals, you can. You can contact the agent through here. So this property here, 7 Cowan, looks good. I've got the photos. I can click into that and have a look. If I want to star that one, I'll bring that into the shortlist, and that'll show up in there. But basically, it'll have 80% match, 70%. It'll go all the way down, and then it'll bring up everything else on the market. So there's a whole bunch here. So hypothetically, I've added a couple of them. I'll put them into my shortlist. So hypothetically, if this was my buyer, we've done some DD on some of these properties and we're starting to add them. We can see that these properties here, they're all ones I'll present to my buyer. Some of them I've already had a look at, but what I can do is sort of interrogate these properties a little bit further. So if I were to click on, say, 51 Hale Street, I can click on that. And this is where, Stash, if you've seen it, if you have seen it over the last year, this was pretty much bread and butter. Stash I'm going to tell you everything about this property in one spot. So so when was it built? Is it owner occupied? All the stats, frontage area, build area, AVM if we've got it. AVMs, and I'll say this from the get, I don't trust any AVM, no matter it's ours. Use it as a guide. But what I have done is also added in every other AVM that's out in market. And I would basically, if you click on these, it'll basically show you, what does REA think? What does Domain think that this property is worth? This one's on the market, so they generally do remove those AVMs on that one. Some of the other portals don't, so you'll be able to click on them and see if there's an AVM sitting there, and use it as intel to come up with, okay, do I think this is worth this? Is it worth 949,000 based on what the offer is? You've got all your comparable sales, which you can explore, which we can go through at a bigger demo on the Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you've got everything you need to sort of make up what you believe that property is worth. But one of the new things we have done is around this Claude and AI, and I'm going to save that for after. I'll use this property as an example just to see, is this property worth this amount or is it worth something else? So I'll jump back to my brief. So you've done your DD, you've gone through, and we're say at negotiation stage. We've come in here and we've looked at, okay, our target price of this property is say 930. I can add notes to this property, and this is all automatic. I can add whether does this property actually match what the buyer is actually looking for? And I'll just show you a quick example. Let me just jump down to one I haven't done. We'll use this one. If I edit the note, and I'll just write with AI. It might take about 10 to 20 seconds to do, but it'll basically grab everything that was in that brief, everything that's on that listing, and go, does this actually match? So you've gone through and go, yep, basically you've eyeballed it and sort of said, yep, it does match, but it'll go yes, no on all the free text information that they put in that brief, any of the fields they put in that brief, any of the budgets they put in that brief, and write it into here. That should come back in a sec, but I'll just show you what it looks like in a bit more detail. Let's go this one. So just on that. So this will actually show on the brief to the buyer. So 3 bedrooms, they were looking for a land size of 600. So this one's slightly under, but you know what, I'm going to still present it because it might be close enough. Budget, offers over 949. So it is probably within budgets. Probably should have done that. No pool, which is great. Rental yield if it was. So it'll basically analyze everything in that brief, bring it into here, and then you'll present that back.
And you can edit that as well, right?
You can. So we'll write it for you, and then you can edit on top. So you can change whatever we've said. It just gives you a head start. There's a lot of AI tools within Stash where it's just going to go, it'll give you a head start and then you edit it from there.
Excellent.
So that's sort of your brief. Another part of the brief, again, another problem that we were trying to solve from the beginning was keeping you informed of new listings that come to market. So this brief, I've added the brief, and it's not a set and forget because I'm going to work with the client on this one, but any new listings that come to market that match that brief, I'm going to get an email every day around any new listings. I don't know if I've got an email ready for that because I've just loaded this brief in, but every day you'll get an email. It'll have any new listings that match that brief, any off-market listings, any pre-market listings, anything that matches that. And it'll add it to an email that you can then peruse and then add it to the brief and share with your client. So that's one part. That'll come through daily. I've got that set. It doesn't have a microphone for dictation, but it probably should. It's not a bad idea, El. Another thing we had was feedback around buyer's agents go on holidays, and I need to then assign it to another buyer's agent in my office. So you can actually do that. So if I had another year, I could basically resign it if I'm away for a couple of weeks. Any new listings, any new information would be able to come through to that person, and they can share it from there. The old way of doing the brief was this PDF, and I'm just going to quickly show you that. So this is a PDF document. It had, a cover letter. You write that with AI. We wrote it for you. It went through all the suburb shortlists and all the different properties. The new way is around this share buyer portal. So I'll click on that. And this one, I'll just share from the full version. So this is, okay, my branding didn't refresh, but this would have been branded in my Delicious brand. So this will have your logo at the top. This is just in preview mode, so I can see how it's going to look before I share it. But this is a completely digital mobile. It looks really awesome. This is just that summary of the letter, any of the portfolio that they had, any of those suburbs that we've shortlisted, so they can interrogate these suburbs, see where they are, see how they compare to each other with all different stats. So whether it's capital growth, whether it's rental yield, social profiles, supply and demand, you can sort of see and compare those suburbs that might help them skew and go down a different path. So they've got that. And then you've got the property shortlist. For this, I'll just open up the live portal. So you can share this, copy the live link and share it with your buyer. I'll just open up the live one. Anything while you're in preview, if you interact with it, it won't actually send you alerts, but anything in here, it will alert you. So if they interact with this, as soon as they open it, you're going to get notification to say they've opened this document. So say if you share it and then tonight they start to look at it, you'll get notified that they're interacting with it. Even if they interact with it, weeks down the track, you'll still get notified of, hey, they're currently looking at it. So you could share this at a buyer really early on. So even if you haven't yet signed them up, say you're at the strategy stage and you've gone through the brief, portfolio, maybe you've shortlisted a couple of suburbs, you could do that without any property shortlist. So you're basically just giving them a little bit of information to sort of warm them up. It's really branded, really on point. And then when you get them onboarded, then you're going to start sharing the actual value, which is the property shortlist. It will be branded in your own branding, 100%. The shortlist, so this is in live mode. So this is as the client would see it. They can see my notes. They can see my target price. This one's on the market. They can see all the notes that I had written there. If they wanted to give me feedback on the property, they could. I've just done this one just earlier. I said, I love it. Perfect location. The buyer's agent's going to get notification on all of that. This one here, if I'd left notes, they would show up. If the buyer wanted to give feedback, pass on that one. They could put some comments in there, too old or something. I'll get that straight back into Stash. I'll get an email and a notification of they've actually said they don't like this property and they've given me that comment. So all of that interaction, whether they view it, whether they like it, love it, hate it, leave a comment, all that's going to go straight back into Stash. So you'll be aware of everything they've done. So that's sort of the buyer brief. There's a lot of stuff we want to add into that. To the buyer notification or email, you get both. You will get a notification. I'll just see if it's quick enough to load into here. So basically, there is a notification section in Stash as well on the right-hand side up here. If I click on that little bell, it'll come up with a number. It'll go feedback. Anthony Albo interacted with your match property. I can click on that. And I can see that he left perfect location. He loved it, and that's the property. And then I can go into that buyer brief and then see what well, I can see what he said here, but I can then go on the buyer brief and leave more comments for him. So we're basically trying to solve that. What the buyer's agent sees and what you're giving them is a completely controlled experience. So even on that brief, I'll just jump back to it for a second, is around the comparable sales are there. So any comps can come into here. That's all interactive. They can click through and have a look at those properties if you want them to. There's also a property walkthrough and document. So I didn't actually get a chance to upload any here, and I'm currently redoing it because there was a couple. It wasn't that great, but basically you can upload any of your walkthrough videos, images. Can go up into here. Any documents can go up into here, and I'm just making them a bit more better, where it's more of a gallery approach rather than downloading the document as such. So that's just being fixed. That should be up in the next couple of days.
Just a question on the live portal, Colin, about it showing your own link or yeah.
So yeah, I think mine, yeah, so it will show the brand. So mine was just cached before because I didn't actually set the brand. I just had it already open another tab, but that brand there will show. So because I've already updated my brand over here, that will now follow through on every document. Any link that you share will have your brand there. And it's a live document. So if I were to, so say if my buyer had this and he had that link and I'd shared that in WhatsApp or whatever, if I just go back into my brief here for a second and I added another property. So if I go to Anthony and I'll just pick another on-market property, say a new one's just come through, I'm going to add that to the brief going, yep, this one looks good. So let's just go to that one. So that's now going to show up in the shortlists. There's this one here, so I could call it, I've got all different statuses here, so I can sort of say evaluate or whatever the status may be. But if I were to share that, let's just refresh. Which one was it? Let me share it. I'll share the same link, basically. I'll preview it again to refresh it. But that link will be the same, and there should be, I can't remember the property I just added. I think it was this one, 7 Cowan. So that's now there. So any new properties you add, same link that they will get. It's completely living, breathing document. So even if you were, say, onboarding that client and you hadn't yet, so maybe you've done a strategy session or you want to give them some little bit of value, but not too much value, so none of the shortlist. I could say I'm going to share this thing, preview it, and it's going to lock that last tab. So I haven't actually signed them up yet, but I can give them some value going, here's what we discussed. Here's your portfolio. It'll give you some stats on your current portfolio. The suburbs that they've suggested that they want to buy in anyway, you can give them some stats on that. And it's really a low cost, nothing thing, but you'll be notified as they're interacting with this to try and then see if you can get them fully onboarded. And then you're sort of seeing what's coming next. The property shortlist is what they can see, what's coming next. So really, really powerful document just for that feedback, that interaction, and just really keeping everyone on point, on brand. So any questions, chuck them in chat. I'll happily answer them as I jump to the next part.
Just some questions around the domain name that is shown on the link.
Yeah, the domain name's harder to change it, to get it to work with your own brand. Requires technical, you got to put DNS things in place, and it's a little bit more complicated. But we're exploring it. So if there's any huge demands, we can look at that. There are some limitations and some technical challenges with things showing, like maps showing and URLs that those maps get shown on, make it a little bit trickier, but we're exploring what we can and can't do. But happy to look at it.
Another question, Cole, around how frequently the listing data comes through.
Every day the listing data comes through. So every hour there's new data on site. We do some crunching throughout the day, particularly on those matching. So there is crunching we do throughout the day to try and match these properties, basically to make the search really fast to being able to do that. But yeah, new listings come through every day. And the pre-market, off-markets come through every minute pretty much. It's just a case of where we can get them, how we get them. And we're exploring constantly getting more listing feeds from, with our background with Pricefinder over the last 20 years, with connections more so on the selling agent side. So we're working with the big CRMs on that side to try and how do we get more off market. And we think there's a big play there, particularly with the market the way it is is how can we get access to those off markets and then present them back to the buyer's agent community, because we do have a significant amount of buyer's agents on platform, probably one of the biggest on terms of on a platform. So it is appealing from a selling agent perspective to get access to those BAs to share off markets with. So that's sort of our next frontier that we're looking at. Anything else? I'll just keep jumping. So basically the next part I'll share is the live property reports. So these are shareable links that you can share with people. Previously, it was a document. I'll just type in, let's just go with this one at the top, 7 Cowan. What can we do actually? Let's go 51. Use that one. Okay, so this is one of the properties that I was shortlisting. Now, as a buyer's agent, you can come in here and do all your due diligence, so analyze. So this is probably more for the people who haven't seen Stash at all. I know half haven't actually tried, so we'll just quickly skim. But this is the type of data that you've got on every single property in the country. You know, is there social housing affected? Is it a busy road? How close are those amenities? Roundabouts, school catchments, any flooding, bushfire, heritage, biodiversity there. We don't have ownership inside Stash, but if you do have a provider that does have ownership, like Pricefinder or National Property Data, still working on CoreLogic, you can plug those ones in. We've got the timeline, so all the sales history will be there. Any planning insights, any nearby developments that might be happening around that property, really important. So there's 5 billion of health infrastructure, and you can interrogate that a little bit further. But I suggest to go in further detail on that. We'll jump onto a Tuesday or Thursday demo. But basically, you can go through this, and previously you could do a CMA where you can go into your suburb profile and see everything about the suburb that this property's in, your comparable sales, any development. And what we would do prior to that is share a PDF. I'll just quickly show you, just so you know what the old way of doing it was. So similar to our buyer brief, but this is just about a property, single property, branded in your collateral, and you can add your property notes, same way, give them a summary of pros and cons of this property. For time, I won't do that one. Here's what we think this property's worth. Here's the estimate. Here's the median. So sort of getting price out of the way. You've got your timeline. You've got aerial imagery. Stash has access to pretty much the latest aerial imagery anywhere in the country. Like this imagery would probably be a couple, well, let's say probably 5 or 6 months old. So if you are looking at sort of sites that are development sites or anything like that where the property may have changed, or you can see what's actually going on as the neighbor's been mowed down, is there a block of units just being built, say, compared to looking at Google. It's an additional plugin for that one, just where we get the data. But basically, this is the old way of doing things. Big document, 20, 30 pages long, everything you need to know about that property. It's basically a CMA. The new way of doing it is sharing this live property. So just click a link, preview it. It will be branded in your own brand. And it's literally a live document, all the imagery. It'll have you promoted there, back to that. So you can share this with anyone throughout any stage, whether it's off market, on market, and what they're going to get. You know, if they're on their, most people will be looking on their phone when you're sharing it. It'll look nice and concise when you do. And it'll basically go, here's everything you need to know from a buyer perspective before you buy this property. So you can do this on any single property in the country. It's got all your investment highlights, why you might look at this property, all the facts, off-market, area, snapshot, when it last sold, any parking, any planning restrictions, pricing. So it'll bring in the estimate, it'll bring in the median, it'll show the growth over the last sort of 10 years or so. It'll look at the rental stats over the last sort of 10 years. Is there any risks on this property? Bushfire, flooding, heritage, amenities, all that neighborhood profile stuff. So pretty much everything that was on the property report is now in a more interactive document. It's going to have recent comparable sales at the bottom. If they wanted to interrogate further on that suburb, they can click on that suburb and get a whole bunch of charts. So it's basically a nice way to share really consistent, whether it's in WhatsApp, whatever. You're literally just sharing, you know, an encrypted link. They don't need to log in. They never need to log into the brief. They never need to log into any of these platforms. We don't know who they are. It's more seamless. Click a link and here's a nice consistent branded thing that you can share. So even if you didn't use the brief in its entirety, the next property you're sharing with a buyer, you could just jump in here, find the property and share it. And it'll basically be a fully branded experience what you're sharing with them. So we do that for property and we do that for suburb. So that's the suburb one. And then that was the property one. So we're getting a lot of traction on those things, and they look really good. I don't know if I can share. Let me just see what it kind of looks like on mobile. Let's see if that works. So like this is how it would look on mobile, nice and neat. It's just a really more professional experience than say sharing a property.com link one time and an REA link another time and a domain link another time. This is just a nice consistent way of doing that process for your buyer, and it makes it look like you've got access to information that they don't. So it's a really, really powerful tool. So every property, every suburb you can share. Any questions on that? So that was to do the suburb, to the share live property. To do the suburb one, if you just wanted to share a suburb with a buyer, you could do that as well. Just share live suburb and then type in any suburb at the top and share that. Where do we go from here? Okay.
Can you, sorry, Colin, yep. There have been a few questions about the estimates as always. And so you have the little estimate AI tool that tells you why. So learn more about this price estimate. Yeah,
let me go through estimates because I don't like them inherently. I mean, I built the one domain for a long time, Price Finder as well. And the estimates are always wrong. Pretty much, they give you a guide, but comparable sales will give you a better guide. So the way we've sort of gone about it is, and this sort of does shoehorn into the next thing I want to show you with this Claude and AI thing. So we've got an estimate like everyone else. Everyone's got an estimate. Domain's got an estimate. REA, let's have a look what REA think this property's worth. They might show it. I can't remember if they do, if it's on the market or not. So they've got 960, 830 to 109, 960. We've got 948, 865 to 1. So it's all pretty much around the money. I did put this thing in here just because we do get a lot of talk around estimates going. I think people are putting a little bit too much faith in estimates. So this one here, I've just put in going, it just sort of explains how we got to this position. So yeah, 948,000 active listings. Is there any, so it might be on the conservative side. And it gives you the rent and just gives you an idea around the typical rent might be for that area. So it's just a little tidbit around, okay, how do we justify that? That is live now. The other thing I would do is definitely check all the other providers. But I mean, the banks use different AVMs to say what is on the front page of domain. They all have different sort of ways that they use from a risk tolerance point of view, but everyone's got one. So if Homely, let's see if they've got one. There's a sort of listing. All Homes is basically the same as domain. On the House, which is CoreLogic. So what do they think it's worth? So we'll just try and send you out to those things. So they say, I think theirs is on the market as well, so they might not show it. So some providers, how they remove it if it is on the market. We don't, we'll always show it. Views, another one. Let's see if they've got a valuation on or an estimation on this one. You sort of get the idea. This one, they don't either. Basically, the selling agents used to hate it when we put AVMs on properties that were on the market. So the other thing I have done is I just literally added this morning. So this is comparing price estimates. I don't trust this one, so let's have a look at what Claude thinks. So this is the AI tool. You probably might have heard about Claude. I can go through, I'll just show you this first and I'll show you sort of in reverse how to actually set this up. But basically what this can do is Claude is an AI tool, it's an LLM. We've connected our data up into Claude. So usually if you're on ChatGPT or any of these tools, they've generally got access to the data that's on the web or a version of the data that's on the web at a point in time. So when you're looking at anything on there, particularly with property, there's a lot of stuff happening in the last sort of 6 months that might not be in, say, ChatGPT organically. So what we've done is exposed all of our data into Claude, but you've got to connect the dots. So you still need to be a member of Stash, and it's only you'll get basically a curated experience which combines all of our data, live data, with everything else Claude has to do what you want it to do. So as an example, like I'm asking it, create a CMA for this property. I'll just see if I did one. I did one earlier because it takes a couple of minutes, right? So this one here, it's gone through and go. So we know it's on the market, offers over 949. I know this is a bit small, so I'll try and zoom in for you. But basically what this is helping you do is just sort of get to that price. So it'll use the AVM as a starting point, but then it's going to do the things you would have done to try and work out what that price would have been. or should be. So it'll look at the comps, it'll look at the suburbs, it'll look at things around it to try and get to that point. So in here, I've literally just typed in, I didn't actually type in anything. I just clicked the button on Stash and it's gone and done this stuff. So it's found the property. It's now connecting into all of our data, bringing it back into here. It's found 15 comparables within a kilometer. It brings those comparables back when it gives you everything about them. Goes into detail on a few of them. Looks at a price guide of what those properties should be, nearby sales. And this come back pretty much within 30 to 60 seconds, all of this data. And then what it can do is basically produce a CMA for you. Claude is a subscription. You got it, basically it's tokens. So tokens, these companies are making billions basically. They do have a subscription, but there is a free one that you can use. You'll probably hit limits on those ones. So there is like a free one, a $30 one, and then sort of goes up from there. But you can use the $30 one. You can test it with the free one and see how far you can get. But as more and more, and I think a lot of tech is going to go this way. A lot of things. So this is I could go to Price or Sash even and produce a CMA, or I could just tell this to do everything. So I can produce a CMA. I can get it to then email me the document, email the client the document. I could do this for 50 properties in a row if I wanted to. So any property that's in my shortlist, I could send it to here and it'll give it to me. So it'll be a really powerful automation tool. So I've basically said, well, this has told me it's going to, do you want me to write this up as a report? And I'm doing it for buying, selling, or development. If it was for development, it'll do a full feasibility on this property. You still got to know what you're doing in terms of developing properties, but it'll give you a massive head start. And I'll quickly touch on it at the end. This one here, I'm saying it's buying. So I'm going to do a buyer CMA. So it's going to go through everything and it's going to spit out a document. Now, this is probably a document. I wouldn't say I would give this to a buyer, but maybe I would. But I would definitely have this if I was going through a walkthrough on this property. This is probably the document I have somewhere on my phone somewhere to go, I need to know everything about this property before I go out there. So it's not really a marketing. It's not as pretty, although you can make this look like anything you want. You can put your branding. You can turn this into anything you wanted to. You turn it into a website if you wanted to. It's just more effort. But basically, this is something that to tell you everything about this property before you go out there. Everything you need to know in one single document, comps, everything, price point. So here it is, 3-bed, building area, zone, no flood. So any warnings is going to come back. And we already do this again in Stash on a pretty format, but this is just going to go really raw. An estimate's an estimate. We said 948. What do we think this property is actually worth? We look at the local market. So it's looking at other data that's on the web to try and bring this back, as well as stuff that we've got. It's found a different overlay, any comparables. So which one it thinks is the best one. So we've got all the comps inside Stash, but it's going to go through each one and go, we think this is the most relevant based on what that property is. You can see all your comps here. This is high relevance, medium, and low, just sort of give you that price and the different bed bath car count. It's going to give you that sort of weighted average of where we think this property is. So it looks at the AVM, it looks at the comps, it looks at the suburb, and then it sort of comes up where that property we think it's, or he thinks it sits, the AVM thinks it, or the AI thinks it sits, and all the risk and planning. And then it sort of comes up with a negotiation strategy. So the AVM said 948. It's saying here, I wouldn't go higher than 930. So I guess use this with your own experience. And you'll know you're sort of going, okay, I could use this to give to a buyer to go, yep, this is what we think it's actually worth. And the buyer's asking 950. It's been on the market for 32 days. So it analyzes all that for you. So things like hard selling at 930, you're possibly paying a premium of 20 or 30. It's been on the market, I think, so 32 days. What did it say that? 32. So 30 to 50 is defensible above fair value. So you could negotiate on that, given that I think the suburb was less than that. So above suburb median. So market is testing the price. So it's probably correct that it hasn't sold yet. So maybe it is on the higher side. So it just gives you all that sort of feedback. And all I did was I clicked a button, typed an address in, and it brought all this back for you. In terms of some of the other stuff it can do, like I did a feasibility earlier on 3 properties, just for a client, just to sort of show you. Basically, I typed in 3 addresses and it spat out going, what can I do to this property? Can I build units? How many units can I build? I think I can go 5 levels and go 9 levels, and basically going, do not pay over 4.5 for all three in a row. And all I did was type in 3 addresses. So it's really powerful. This is sort of the beginning of all of the capability of this stuff. So yeah, really in terms of how to actually do it, we won't probably cut another video on the full end-to-end, how to do it. We see it as it is a power user tool. So I think you have a crack at it and see how you go. But I think more and more over time, it's going to get much easier and more aware, because I think there'll be other integration points. Like on my Claude, I've connected it to my Gmail, I've connected it to my Slack, or any of these other tools that I use every day. So if I want to do something here, I can automatically go, as soon as it's finished, send it to my Slack. I can use my phone to do it. I can just chuck an address in, and it'll automatically, once it's done, it'll send it to my Slack channel, and with a PDF document, I can read it. I can do it before I leave and going out to a walkthrough. So it's, yeah, really powerful stuff. And we see this as an extension of Stash. You can go and create your own, look and feel, create your own best documents you want to do. 100% free for all members. And the way to actually do it, to connect to it, we only literally launched this morning. Under my profile,
is concerned, there's nothing to negotiate. A deal was done last week.
Someone's on mute.
Go to
your profile top right and click on AI access.
No.
There's some instruction there around how to do it. So basically, you just need to have a Stash member. We are working on some other LLM providers. We've just done Claude for day one. And it's kind of like the only, I don't know if there's any other property level MCP integrators that are working with Claude. So it's really rich, high data, not just suburb level data, although we're going to tackle that next, because we've got a lot of data in our find suburb search. We explore all 15,000 suburbs side by side. So we'll probably explore that next, but we wanted to target the property one because you're buying properties, you're not buying suburbs. So you've got all these tools to sort of do all that analysis. And this is just sort of your assistant in the background going, yep, you're right. You know what you're doing, keep going. So yeah, download Claude. And literally it's as simple as adding a connector to Claude. So under like customize, we will set another video, so don't worry about trying to do this. Basically going to add a connector. I've added Slack and Google Drive, but basically literally copy and paste a URL, and it will ask you to log in. If you're already logged in, it won't even ask you that, and it's done. The other part of the AIs is these skills. So I've created like a CMA skill, which is pretty much just a basic prompt to sort of tell it what to do with our APIs. So you don't have to do that, but you can create your own. So as you're doing things, you'll find better ways. Even the outputs it's producing, you'll go, what, I don't like that. I never want to see that type of output. Don't give it to me. And over time, it'll just keep learning and learning and learning to see what you actually like. So this is just a starting point, and then you'll just keep building on top of that. So follow these steps. Our support team's around for any assistance, but it's all brand new to a lot of people. So I think it'll become more part of the norm as we move forward. So yeah, that's Claude or Stash AI.
Sorry, Colin, just a question around that. There was a question from Daniel saying, couldn't you just have a Claude CMA button under the property? It would be the same thing, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I hacked it last night just to do this. So basically, it's kind of doing that. It's basically creating the prompt. So if I click on that again, it's just going to open up Claude if you've got it, and automatically give you the prompt, and away you go. So you still need to download the skills, but you don't necessarily need to. You can create your own skills because it's not that hard. It's basically it'll work out what it needs to do. But yeah, you can just keep fine tuning that. So yes, I think there'll be a better way to do it, because we've got we do development. So if you're got a buyer who's looking to do a certain thing, we've got our own feasibilities inside Stash here as well. But we'll pretty much retire that, and these things absolutely kill it in terms of doing full feasibilities on any property.
The benefit is that you can have it analyze it in a much shorter time, right? And run through a lot of the due diligence and checks.
And what it spits out is either a PDF document. So this one, it's a different CMA. So if I was looking at buying, I've looked at some properties where our estimate and every other estimate online said it was worth $2 million. But the property you literally cut into 6 blocks and it changes the price of what that thing is. An AVM is going to see history. It's going to see what it sold for 30 years ago. It doesn't really see what you can and can't do with that property from a zoning perspective or an overlay perspective. And that's why I never trust any CRM. So like this one here, I think was, this was a basic one, but yeah, the other one, it turned like a $2 million AVM into a $6 million target price. So, and anyone with experience would have gotten that, but an AVM will never get that. So it's always just a starting point.
Yep.
Lastly, what have we got? 746. Okay. It is, let me go to let's go to Find a BA. So about 6 months ago, we launched this Find a BA website for a bunch of things. One is to sort of help push buyers towards our network of BAs. So if I'm looking for a buyer's agent in a suburb, it's going to come back. Let me just show you an example of that. Here's all the buyer's agents that service that, and it radiates out. So these are real buyer's agents, except this one's not real. This is just me. It'll give you all the profiles. So by default, everyone's got one of these. So this is why the branding is really important. And one of the things we did do is come up going, where does this agent service? So I'm servicing Norman Park, and it'll, even if I type in the suburb next door, I'm still going to come up in that search. There's a lot more things we're going to add into here. Like we've got the Google profiles coming in, so you don't have to maintain another Google review type thing. We can just pull that data in. It will use that for sorting. So any reviews that you've got, we'll bring into here. If anyone wants to contact you, they can do this from here. They can type in the details. And if anyone does put their information into here, it's going to drop that person straight back into Stash, straight into your buyer pipeline. It's going to send you an email, and it's going to drop that person in as a lead. So it sort of then kickstarts the brief process. Another thing we did do as part of that was, let me just find my page again, was created like a detailed version. So if you're at the stage of onboarding a client, so you've signed up, ready to go, you could send them this link, and it will basically give them, it's a big form, granted, but this is the same form that you'll be filling out for them. But instead of, I don't know how, depending on the process, if you got a form somewhere on your website, you could swap it out for this form. It's going to be branded your own. They fill out all of this detail, which maps 100% to that form that's in Stash. And this basically kickstarts that program for you. So this is just by default, this is free for everyone that's currently a Stash member. But there's more stuff we want to do with this. So we were working with some portals around who wanted to become more buyer focused. So they wanted basically on how do we promote buyers agents to our buyers. So they were using us for that. We're working with mortgage brokers around, they're looking for how do we give value to their clients. And part of that thing is the same sort of thing, these share reports, how do we help them promote you? So how do we give them some little bit of information, but at the end of the day, they're going to see, here's the buyer's agents that can service your area. So it's just helping connect the dots, basically, whether it's selling agents, getting off markets, whether it's leads from mortgage brokers. So definitely have a look at that. Findaba.com.au is where we've put it, but yeah, there'll be a lot more things we'll do off the back of that, just in terms of sharing this out. So attract more buyers. Did I miss anything, Martin?
Nope. You covered everything except for one thing that I was going to ask about in terms of the Find a BA and uploading all your information, your company information that shows it on your profile. Also, it pulls in, so you can use that link that you get from Find a BA on your profile, send that to a client. If they don't have enough time to answer your questions while you're doing that discovery call, send them the link. They fill it in while they're with their partner or whoever else they're investing with, fill that in their own time, and that'll pull into your buyer pipeline automatically without double handling, without making any typos.
Yeah, and then then you can take the conversation from there. So on the top right, I put a lot of stuff in here. So my profile, this is where we've got all your information. All this stuff would eventually then flow through to that. Your team's in here if you've got other users. The company profile, so you can share your Find a BA link, send that link to a client. Your taglines. I can bring in your Google reviews. So literally all you need to do, if I were to type in, I don't have one because I'm not real, but I just did Happy Buyers Club, and I'll literally just do it again just to show you. But if I do that, it'll automatically pull in live every day your current Google rating, your star rating, all your reviews. And when we expose that then on Find a BA, it'll all be used for searching. So it's all just trying to give information to the buyer, everything about you that they need to know. But everything in there, everything you put into here, the suburbs that you work would automatically filter through to Find a BA, and that's how people can find you. So it's just another arm that we're working on in terms of Stash.
Oh, there was another question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the Stash property profile and the Claude CMA?
Not a lot. Stash property profile, it's more, at the end of the day, it's using all the data that Stash has got. So this is 100% all Stash. It's going to be more of a marketing type, more pretty document. Like in here, you've got your comparables, so you can still go and analyze all this yourself. You can look at the suburb, see the median, go into here and set that target price if you wanted to, or you could just use Claude to do it and produce whatever you wanted to produce. So the data at the end of the day is the same that's coming out of Stash. Claude may go off on its own and go and find other data sets that may be out there, or you may tell it to. So you may have certain information in your local area or certain sites or whatever. You could tell Claude to, you know what, when I'm appraising properties in this area or doing a CMA, I want you to go and fetch that data as well. So Claude will basically try and fetch it from any different website that's out there, bring it all back, analyze it in seconds, and then spit it back out. So it saves you having to do it. So I think it's a really powerful tool to try and pull. We've got a lot of data. Obviously, we try and pull in councils and state and federal, everything we can possibly get. So if there's any more that at a local level that you know, you can tell it and it'll try and get it if it can. Sometimes it's hard because a lot of sites are blocking, the scraping of Claude using these types of things. So, but it'll do its best to try and get it. But the analysis on Claude is exceptional.
Very cool.
I saw your message, Steve. Find a BA shows it's powered by Stash. Wouldn't potential property buyers contact Stash and subscribe to their access? We haven't seen it. I don't know if that's there's a lot of information out there. I don't know if that's the only reason why they're using BAs. Obviously, I think it's a bigger time saver in selecting a BA. So it doesn't have to mention Stash, to be honest. I just did it so it got recognition with you guys. Anything else? But yeah, I mean, this last 12 months has been pretty huge. The last 3 months exceptionally has been incredible in terms of what we've been able to do technically, and I think we've landed in a really good spot to sort of what's going to be in the next 6 months. There's a lot of feedback already coming in from these briefs that people are sharing. One of the things we've looked at is, when you're sharing a brief, the brief's still up here somewhere. When you're sharing it, you've got your property shortlist, but what some BAs are doing is sharing all the recent sales in a given area that match that brief. So instead of looking at all the properties on market, we're looking at all the properties that have sold in the last sort of 6 months that would have matched that brief, and then getting the feedback from the buyer around those properties that they didn't get because they weren't really looking at that point in time. But it really gives you an understanding of what they're actually looking for. Like they would have bought that property 3 months ago, had it been on the market now. So it sort of gives you that really tangible feel of what that person's actually looking for. So once they go through, they could have a list of 10 properties or 20 properties. We could analyze that and go, this is the type of property that they're really looking for. And then we can use that information to then go and find on-market properties that really match that narrative.
The other thing that I guess was of interest that has happened over the last 12 months is the using AI to find on-market properties that match. So being able to say, I'd like a pool or a large yard, or just leveraging the ability to have the smarts to look at those properties that are on market.
Yeah, even like we do that all in the brief. So anything you type in here that's textual. So old search, and I think this is how all the portals will go. Except the portals are kind of vetted against doing it because they make all their money on where the listings sit on hierarchy on the page. But in here, if I could type in anything, I can go quiet street, anything that's really fuzzy. So whether it's close to cafes or close to this cafe or close to Bunnings or whatever it is, I could type that into here. And then under the hood, it's doing a lot of analysis to try and find that. So it's not previously when you're searching, you're doing 3-bed to 4-bed, you're doing a lot of ticking and whatnot. Now you can just well, eventually you'll be able to speak to it and tell things what you're actually after. So to get to that point is where the AI and searching definitely comes into it, and it's just going to get even more easier, to be honest. So yeah, there's a lot of needle in a haystack type stuff this is going to be able to do. What are we? 7:56. 4 minutes to go.
So the offer that we have. So there have been a few requests. There have been a few requests for the trial and what is the pricing. And I was trying to keep it to the end so that people stay and they watch us and not the budget. But we'll see.
What happened in the budget anyway?
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Albo is going to be putting a different budget around his properties.
He's moving to Cliff. Okay, Stash /BAI. So we will put the replay up on here, but you're already here, so you don't have to watch it. In here, so I'm doing a couple. So I think we'll do one where you can get your first month free. So if you haven't seen Stash before, you can just do that if you wanted to. And for 30 days, you can have a crack. And if you don't like it, then just cancel it and it's fine. But I thought I'd do another one. So the 9 months for 12. So we do have last year we had a lot of annual people join. Just from a cost perspective, tax time is coming up. So they're trying to jam it through before end of financial year. So I did do one there. So you can get 9 months for 12 months. So basically getting another 3 months free. It's paid all up front, but it basically gives you that hit from a tax perspective right before June. So I added that one there. We used to only do it for new subscribers, but we'll open up to everyone. So even if you do have a subscription, you can change to that if you want to. I don't know how, but our support team definitely do. But yeah, go onto this page. If you want that one and you're already a member, just reach out to the team and we'll get you through that. We will send you an email straight after this with all of these links and you can reply to that if you want to. But if you haven't had a go, click on that, get it for a first free month. It does a lot more now. We're going to open up that MCP, the Stash AI thing. We were going to charge for it, but we won't. I think it's going to be part and parcel. I think you're going to use these things in tandem. So anytime you pull up an address in Claude, it's going to have a link of any property. You can click on that link. It's going to send you back to Stash. So end to end, we see it kind of working hand in hand. So I really appreciate your time tonight, guys. I know there was other things on TV, but I'm sure I'll see every newspaper and Facebook post talk about the budget. So I look forward to seeing that. Perfect.
Thanks, Carl.
No worries. Thanks. Enjoy you.
Thanks, everyone. Support at stashproperty.com.au if you have any questions or have any challenges getting onto your trial. And we hope to see you all very soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys. Good on you. Have a good night.
Ciao.
Thanks, Colin and Martin. Terrific.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Very good. Now, what happened in the budget? That wasn't already leaked.